life your way. That's Mature Allure.
Welcome to Mature Allure, where we highlight the experiences and perspectives of life's journey after 40. I'm your host, Sherri O. Today's guest is Reggi Sweat. She's a dynamic content creator and advocate for women's health and wellness over 50. With a background in hosting, broadcasting, and as a commercial actress, Reggie, a disabled veteran, shares her journey with authenticity, empowering other women to prioritize their health and celebrate a life of purpose and independence. She's been featured on platforms like Netflix's Less Is Now, The Tamron Hall Show, and meditation apps such as Abide and Calm. Reggie, I'm so excited to have you
Oh,
back.
yes, thank you, thank you. What a heck of an intro. I appreciate
I
it.
know, you're an
Thank you.
amazing
I'm
person.
like, who did that? I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, I must be old.
Isn't it something when you start going through all, I've done this, and then at some point pride turns into what?
Right,
I've been
right.
around
Where
that
did all
long?
that? Yeah, I know. Because when you think like 30 years ago, you did this, you did that. I'm like, wow, I'm just a whole nother person then.
Exactly. Happy New Year to you. Happy 2026.
Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Absolutely to you. Wow, the year went fast, didn't it?
it did. It
Yeah.
did. So, what we're going to talk about, and this is around resolutions time. I know everybody's, I want to get healthy. I see your challenge yourself shirt. I want to get
Yeah.
healthy. I want to do this. I want to do that. That's great. Do what you do. But
Hmm.
today we're talking about fasting over 50. And I think it's a great conversation to have because I think people get scared when they hear the word fasting.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Make it out to be something that really it's been around for thousands and thousands of years, and Jesus fasted. So,
Yep.
why not? We have enough reserve, and that's what fasting is about taking the energy of fat cells in the storage that we keep, like where we find in our belly, especially in menopause or after menopause as we get older. And that's where it seems to settle most, and our thighs and our hips. And so we have the extra cushion, is like I like to call it. So, fasting allows for you to take the break from digestion, but also to eat the fat that may not be necessary on your
Hmm.
body. And it's good that we have fat because we're women and we should have the extra fat because we have babies and we do other things, right, than the other genders. But for the extra stuff that we're talking about is, I can't fit my pants anymore that I could fit, say, 6 months ago. Are we doing different types of dieting, right? Because fasting is very important, but it's just as important as when you break the fast and what are you eating in
Mm.
between the fast. That's makes or breaks it for you if all the fasting that you're putting into your system and really working towards, and it's not easy. It's not for everyone. And you have to also look at the ailments and things that may be going on in your body that may not allow you to do maybe extended fasts. But there are the mini fasts, or there are just a regular daily fast, and maybe it's just taking more time of an eating window versus not, right? It can fit any lifestyle. We just have to look at it differently from today versus what we were doing when we were in perimenopause. Yeah, I got stories about all that.
When I first got familiar with you was on YouTube. I used to watch your videos and I was like, this woman's amazing. She only eats one meal a day. How is she doing this? But there's a process, all of that. And no, just because you're doing something now doesn't mean you'll be doing it 2 years from now. Doesn't mean you'll be doing it. So it changes and that's okay. It's supposed to change. How have you found your eating has changed as, like you said, perimenopause to menopause?
Yes, it is a difference, which I found. Now, again, everyone's experience can be different, but I'm just going to generalize this a little bit. But when I started fasting, I was in perimenopause, and it was after I had a hysterectomy on top of that. So that was about 10 years ago. And then you kind of just stumbled across fasting because we all do a certain amount of fasting, whether we know it or not, because we have to sleep. It could be late night or late morning. Maybe you don't eat until later in the mornings. So you're still fasting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people generally maybe do something what we call the 16-8, which is 16 hours a fasting 8-hour eating window so you can get all your macros in or your calories in. And for me, it just became easier and easier in perimenopause because I normally didn't eat breakfast. So that was an easy no-brainer because I was just maybe eating 2 meals a day anyway.
Hmm.
So it was just easy just to start pulling away from the extra meal in my mind. And also, it helped me lose almost 25 pounds at the initially at the beginning that was nagging me. And I started really going at it and being pretty obsessed with fasting. And of course, I was one of those people that will go to an extreme and can overfast. And for women, it is not very good because we have to work with our hormones versus working against it. And I did all the things wrong at the beginning, even though I lost the weight.
Ah.
But OMAD is just where I landed, and I felt very comfortable doing OMAD off and on for about 4 years. Maybe I'll take a week or two off in between, but mainly I was going for that long.
And OMAD stands for 1 meal a day, just in case.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Just want to
Yes.
make
One
sure.
meal a day. Yes. For anyone that doesn't know. And then we even call a thing called TUMAD, which is 2 meals a day. And that's kind of where I've I am today. But OMAD is a great way for those that want to look at being in a weight loss mode, but it is not for you to be there forever and be there for a long extended time. You have to take the breaks and maybe you'll come back, just like any diet, right? And fasting isn't a diet, it's just your lifestyle. And it's just something you do as part of your daily habits of your diet, your fitness, your wellness. That's what fasting is. And it's also a tool that you use to clean up your, I would call it your bad cells, right? To get into a form of autophagy, which is autophagy is about cleaning up, repairing your cells, like your mitochondria. That's one of the makeups within your cells that you want to clean up, right? To balance out where you can eat good, healthy, whole foods and also still lose some weight if that's the goal. Or maybe you're looking to work towards getting off of medications. It could be something like diabetes. That's a big deal because that's about insulin resistance. And that's where it is about menopause. Our insulin resistance goes up and our cortisol levels go up, which is a stress hormone. And we also have so many other hormones like, leptin and adrenaline, which is ghrelin, if I said that correctly. And that is your hunger hormone. And sometimes we get to the point where we can't turn it off, where you just constantly want to eat. If you ever had those moments, right?
What's going to be my next thing?
Yeah, yeah,
Go ahead.
I've been
Yeah.
there. I've been there, right, where I always want to eat and snack all day. And I couldn't understand why I was still hungry after eating a full meal, like dinner. And I still wanted to eat at night. And that became a thing even when I was doing OMAD. So because I was starting to go into menopause, not aware I was, but because I had a partial hysterectomy, I didn't have a cycle for, since I was 45. So I really didn't know when I was really in full blown menopause until all the other symptoms came, like hot flashes and night sweats, and it was just ongoing. In statistically speaking, with women of color like us, we are hit the hardest with menopause symptoms. There's at least 50 or 60 symptoms. I keep finding out more and more. It's not just brain fog. It's not just, hot flashes. It's so many other
Yeah.
aspects of it that we didn't correlate. And we are at a risk of the top three major diseases once we are in menopause, which is heart disease, Alzheimer's disease is a major one, and also osteoporosis. So I'm thinking about all these things off the top of my head. But
Yeah.
these are the three that stand out. And because I'm a caregiver for my mom, and that is the reason why I got into YouTube and doing videos about our age group, is because of her. And she had a stroke at my age at age 55. And she was 2 weeks after she retired from her job. So I had to look at why did this happen? And, the doctors don't have the answers, of course. You can say high cholesterol. Yeah. But having and that's another subject, but high cholesterol is not necessarily a bad thing. It just depends on what type of cholesterol is high. But with her, I realized that's what I needed to take control of my own health, even though I was a young adult when she had the stroke. But uh, the channel came into fruition with YouTube because of that reason of doing a different pathway in your lifestyle and your healthy habits of things that you can control versus what you can't, like your genes. You can't control your genes, what's in your genes, but you can deter it or delay diseases coming on, or maybe even correct it if you find the right way pathways for you when it comes down to food, because food is medicine, and also with all the other habits you put in place. And that's where I put fasting. That is to me, is the holy grail of anti-aging and looking your best as we get older. It really helps with your skin. It helps with, it's the biggest organ, but all your organs. And it works through the visceral fat, and visceral fat is the worst fat you can have in your body because it's all wrapped around your organs deep inside your body versus subcutaneous fat. And that's just the layer below your skin. Now, but it's dangerous with the visceral fat. And recently, you may have seen an old video that I did with a DEXA scan and getting those to see what it's the percentage and the type of fat that you actually have in your body. Now, there is no one test that's the best measurement, but DEXA scan, I feel, is the closest to finding out more about what's going on in your body versus blood work. But blood work can't tell you how much visceral fat is going on. So that's what, so back to your question though, you were talking about OMAD, and OMAD just became an easy no-brainer thing. And I didn't even think about it because there was a time I used to do hot yoga. And hot yoga, I did it for like 10, 11 years. And uh, that just curbed my appetite in itself. So I didn't need any other outside supplements in my mind, because that heat that you get, it's 105 degrees, it's 90-minute class. And that curbed me, my appetite of eating multiple meals. So it made it easier to do
Yeah.
the OMAD. Yeah.
But that's an interesting point. And the reason why I brought up like the OMAD and also how diets change is because I noticed I have the exact same scenario as you. I had a partial hysterectomy
Hmm.
and I had it at 50. So I didn't know. I wasn't in menopause. I didn't know when. And even the doctor was like, it could come when it comes.
Yeah.
Even before hot flashes started was the constant hunger, like
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
constantly. And I'm like, I just ate. Why can I not
Turn
stop
it off.
eating? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I wasn't like a big eater in the first place anyway. So this kind of shocked me because I'm like, well, what's going on? The doctor did actually put me on Wegovy. And that actually helped. That helped. But at the same time, I still didn't feel good about it. Not the medicine, but
Hmm.
that the fact that I couldn't control my own personal hunger. So
Understand.
anyone out there that is really trying to figure out, well, fasting, I'd like to try it, but how do I do it? What are some suggestions you have for people or women over 50 with that hunger besides
Hmm.
medicine? Medicine's fine,
Right.
no
Right.
judgment.
Right. It's a tool. It
It's
was
a
an
tool.
actual tool. I mean, all the things that we have today, and that, I mean, these are not new medication, new drugs out there. It's just that it's now being branded that way as to help you lose weight. At the same time, it's for you to also to divert or to delay the inevitable of going into diabetes, right? Maybe you're pre-diabetic. I'm pre-diabetic. And it really didn't matter of my weight. I was still falling my A1C in that range. And that's when I was eating plant-based. So,
Well,
yeah.
real quick, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I
No,
wanted to
no.
throw this out there for the listeners. One of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you is insurance kicked me off of Wegovy. So for those out
Wow.
there that might be on, once you hit 55, for some reason, they think that you're okay with being fat and older. So,
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another issue with our medical system is that they have erased in a way. The doctors in medical school, they're not learning about menopause in a way
Mhm.
to make them a specialist. And you really need to go back to school in certain aspects, whatever that is, the certification programs and things that they do. Nurse practitioners, I find they're actually more in tune with our age group, but finding a holistic doctor is the thing that understands who am I working with, the whole body, all the systems, not just, okay, just hormones. Yes, the hormone system, big factor about all of this because it can be, hey, maybe it's your liver. The liver is what detoxes us, right? And that's a pathway. And your hormones are getting all stuffed up in the liver. And maybe it's not releasing in the right way it should. And therefore, any diet you do, it doesn't seem to budge. The weight doesn't budge. And that's all coming from not all, but part of it with menopause. But the main thing is insulin resistance, and insulin resistance can be for both genders, but because we're getting older and our system had turned upside down, everything's an upheaval, and we're so sensitive to any little thing that will throw us off. For instance, stress, right? So if we could handle the stress, say 35, 40 years old, the same type of stress we've always been handling, right? Whether it's relationships, whether it's your job, the stress job, the stress is in your job or it's people, your environment that you're in. You probably had no problems with it a few years back, right? But now it's affecting you today. Like you may be having anxiety and having, a lot of depression. And you're trying to ask yourself questions. Why can I handle these little things? I've done it before. It's not a big deal. Why is it a big deal today? Well, because you're a new system.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I find myself dealing with things I never do. Eczema, like you
Mm,
said, the stress and the anxiety. And then there was a lot like going on in life. And that's just life. And now we're older and we have to reprogram ourselves and how we think. I've been working on that too, just in how I think about pushing myself.
mhm.
It's like, look,
Yes.
you're 55. It's okay. Calm down.
Right.
You don't have
Yeah.
to. You don't
Right,
have
right,
to.
right. Why are we going all hardcore like we're 35? Who are we proving it to except for ourselves?
Yep.
And of course, I can tell you're probably a type A personality and meaning a perfectionist, right? Because I'm the same way, and I have to catch myself that it's okay to not to go in guns blazing all the time to try to fix things. And that's what we're trying to do with our body is trying to fix everything at once. And we may be taking on so much information coming in online, social media, all the different doctors that we're seeing, and we're getting information overload.
Mhm.
And then you just become disabled because it's too much. You're overwhelmed. That's why you have to get back to the basics and look at, again, coming back to the natural route of things if you can. Now, again, the GLP-1s, all those medications are a tool. And the only thing I would say is that it seems like people do have, and I have talked to a lot of people on it or got off, and that you feel like you have to stay on it for life just to continue the benefits of it, right? And so that's why I think we have to find a way. And fasting can help with that, but you don't have to go hardcore fasting when you're in menopause. And so you got to work towards, again, getting insulin sensitivity coming back into the fold of things before fat loss can happen. And so what does that all entail is changing some habits and maybe it's outside factors that are affecting you that are causing the insulin resistance to increase, and therefore we can't lose any weight or we can't lose the fat percentage. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's where you got to go back to questioning yourself about your life and what's going on. And
Yeah.
that comes down to emotional and mental side of it as spiritual before we're doing all these other physical things to ourselves.
Mhm. Mhm. And like you said, that's very important because I never felt like I had to be on it for life.
Right,
I didn't
right.
even know that I was going to get kicked off of it.
Yeah, I don't know what
Then
that is with the
it's
insurance on
what it
that.
is, it's age. Once you hit 55, they won't pay for weight loss medication. Now, they'll pay
Hmm.
for it if you have other issues, if you have heart disease issues, if you
Mhm.
have
Diabetes, right?
diabetes,
Mhm.
diabetes. But if you're just walking around and
Yeah, and it's
and
yeah,
and
and
and, and
you feel like, okay, well, she's average, size and weight, why does she need
exactly.
anything? Yeah.
And that's the thing, and I think maybe down the line, people will start taking a look at the whole menopause thing, because a lot of people are having that conversation now. We'll look at it and say, "Okay, well, these things appetite does change." And like I said, my doctor was like, "Okay, look, let's do this for now, and let's see how that works." And it helped a lot. But again, now that I'm off of it, I'm like, "Okay, I've gotta be very careful. I wanna try some new things." Fasting, I'm familiar with it, but if you could tell our listeners a little bit more about how to start if they've never done it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Beginning fasting. Well, maybe I can share something of when I started because I didn't learn it from a friend or anything, but just watching YouTube channels.
You,
And
watching you.
well, I appreciate that, but it helped me when I started the channel too. Yeah. And it turned into a fasting channel. But for the first gentleman that I saw, I was horrified. But at the same time, because I was in the military, I like getting my butt kicked. I like boot camp, kind of like stop messing around, no BS, no excuse kind of person. What I did is out the gate, I decided because I was watching other people too, and there was one lady named Jameen Miller, and she changed the subject of her channel, but she first initially was fasting. So for me with fasting, and when I first started, I went to an extreme because I was not happy with the extra weight that I was gaining in perimenopause. And so again, I don't recommend it for those that are brand new to fasting, even though that's what I did, is I went straight out the gate and did a 48-hour fast. And I thought, yeah, I'm just going to do it. And what I knew about fasting is it's about hydration. Because there's times that people do extended fast, they feel great, no problems whatsoever. But then they do it the second time and they feel horrendous and in pain, and they end up quitting pretty short into the fast. And so it was because they were dehydrated. And I'm not talking about just drinking water all day, because that's another problem, is just plain water. You have to put the electrolytes in. You can have your own home remedies, or you can buy little packs of electrolytes to add to your water, as long as it's pure, like magnesium, potassium, and sodium. And for me, I put in Himalayan salt, and then
Mm.
I squeeze a little lemon. And that is what I do. And that's what I have in here right now, because I do that throughout the day, because I may do a workout or anything that's sweating, any of these things that we do, and being out in the sun, you're losing electrolytes. And you need to keep replenishing yourself throughout the day. And if you do those things, that usually curbs the appetite and helps those hunger pangs, if you will. I've also, did a drink, fermented drink when I was going to do a 72-hour fast. I did a couple of those. And so I do this drink, Ars Koso, which is, Koso is a Japanese fermented drink. And it is higher sugar in it, and yes, technically it could break a fast, but it's about correcting your gut health when you're doing a long extended fast. So back to beginning fasting though, it's about electrolytes and making sure that's in your water throughout the day. Even if you're not fasting, I still do it because it really just keeps everything in check and feeling like you're refreshed throughout the day, especially when it's summertime and we sweat more often. And so you're losing electrolytes as is. And we do get it confused with hunger.
Mhm.
You may just be just thirsty instead of hungry. So that's another thing that helps.
I've been trying that too. I've been drinking more, like, as you can see, I have
Yeah.
tea here, but it's the
Uh,
tea I made at home, green tea,
yeah.
ginger and lemon.
I love it. Yes,
Yeah.
I do need to do some of that ginger, and that's a great reminder to do that. But yeah, when it comes back to starting a fast, and maybe now that may sound daunting to people to start out with, say, a 14-10, even 10 hours of a eating window and then 14 hours of fasting. That might sound odd to someone and not sure, but I would say this because we're talking about someone beginning it for the first time and our age, over 50, I would suggest to always eat breakfast. Eat in the morning. Try it. Yeah. Yeah. I had
Okay.
to swap. Yeah, I had to flip it because I was the person that never ate breakfast. But because the cortisol levels is what wakes us up in the morning, that will keep going high and higher because we're stressing our body not to eat on top of that.
Mm,
And maybe we're working out and doing a lot of other things. And then, or you're in a stressful environment with work and you haven't put in any fuel, right? Because food is fuel. It will make a difference in when you start to fast later in the day. So instead of saying, okay, I'm just going to do one meal a day and I'm only going to eat dinner, that is what I did for years. But I'm saying for those that are in menopause and after menopause, I really encourage you to try and cut off your dinner time earlier in the day because we need to go with our circadian rhythm and we need to eat in daylight. If you look at it that way and just say, I don't eat it when the lights come on.
that's a good way to look at it. And
Mhm.
you know what? It's interesting that you say that. My body works when I was doing that constant hunger till about 5:30.
Yeah.
Even sometimes I would stop being hungry around 4. But from the moment I woke up till 4 o'clock,
Mhm.
eat, and then it's like nothing. So I've always been kind of not really a night eater, evening
That's
eater.
good. Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
great.
that's good to know. I'll have to be better about the breakfast because I've been trying to pull the breakfast back.
Yeah. And I get it because that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And again, our bodies are different and everyone has to, find their way. But I'm just trying to make a suggestion for those of us that did all the wrong things and couldn't
Yeah.
understand why our hormones were out of sort
Mm-hmm.
because we need to eat with our hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And so feasting, so it's fast or feast, right? And feasting is feeding your hormones the right way and the right timing. So meal timing is what they like to call it out there in the health world. And you can do meal timing where, okay, I'm going to eat, say, 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. even for breakfast
Okay.
and then but I'm gonna cut off my time at 6.
Mm.
That's a 16-8, right? You just fast
Yeah.
16-8 because you're gonna be sleeping, you're getting prepared for sleep, in the evenings. So you're fasting anyway, it's
Yeah.
just that we just don't really notice when we're fasting. But you don't wanna have a lot of food on your stomach when you go to bed. So if you can say, "Hey, if I can get 3 hours before bedtime to cut off the eating,"
Mm-hmm.
start there. Start there, and you'll automatically be fasting.
Yeah. When you
Mhm.
break the fast, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I think we get two things happening is an extended fast versus, a daily fast. Daily fast is it's just your daily living, your healthy lifestyle. So I don't like to get caught up in, okay, you need to eat just an avocado, just eat a healthy fat, right? Or eat a protein like meat, or maybe it's fish. But someone that's coming out of a long fast, like over 48 hours, now you might want to start slowly and say, hey, I'm going to start with bone broth or something like that. And then in an hour, I'm going to eat some fruits or whatever your liking is. So that's a different protocol
Okay.
just to wake your body up again when you've been on extended fast. But a daily fast, your body is like, yeah, I know we're going to eat.
Yeah.
So breakfast, right? So say you're just starting it, but you're going to eat breakfast, say 9 to 5. And I always say, hey, just eat banking hours. And so banking hours is 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, right?
Mm.
Usually I'll say 9 to 6. But if you look at it that way, say, I'm only going to eat when the bank's open, right? And then you're
So,
in your circadian rhythm.
so I can get my $1 million body.
Right. There you go. I love it. I love that. So, eating breakfast, I'll just tell you what I eat, and then maybe that can help someone. Because what I found is it's based on how active you are. I do strength training at least 3 to 4 times a week, and then I walk every day. So, and I don't know, I'm above 10,000 K steps a day. So, and that includes just walking around the house too. So, but in the mornings, I do have a walk, and I usually walk fasted anyway. But when I get back, it's about anywhere from 8:30 to 9. So eggs is my main go-to source of proteins because I eat high protein and low carb. And I find that that's the sweet spot for me and a lot of people to lower the carbs as a daily diet. But when I say this about the carbs, there's two different types of carbs. So you got the refined carbs and the complex carbs. And so I like my veggies. I would put peppers in scrambled eggs, or I would mix in spinach sometimes. But there's so many different variations of what people like and feels their taste buds. But I also look at what is going to be the lower spectrum of spiking my blood levels. And I always think savory and not eating a lot of fruit first thing. Fruit is a carb, and that's going to definitely spike your levels because it's a natural sugar. But nevertheless, it's still a sugar. So I limit my fruit intake, period, just because I know my insulin resistance is not where I need it to be. And so, but eggs, yes, eggs, and I make them all kinds of ways, and then a vegetable and maybe and a healthy fat. And for me, it could be just the butter that I cook in the egg is my fat, or uh, a slice of avocado. But what I do find is that I can't sit up there and eat a bunch of avocados because I would get happy about it, and I'll have a full avocado by the end of the day. But I would say like a fourth of an avocado that I would do depending if I had cooked the other food in butter. So, because we need good fat, and fat can help you lose fat, even though doctors say otherwise.
It's so crazy. It's so
Yeah, I
crazy.
know. There's so many crazy extreme diets, but I'm trying to get in the middle,
Hmm.
a happy medium about diets. And just, I said, you know what? I eat whole foods, just eat real food. Start with
Mm,
real food that are one ingredient foods and not something that you're reading on a box. If you're reading on a box, you know it's a processed food, period, if it's in
yeah,
a box,
yeah.
right? So
And
if
do
we,
we really know? And I know this sounds crazy. This is just me. I'm not speaking for anyone else.
yeah,
But when I look at that, somebody like you would probably take it in more. I'm just looking at it like, oh, sodium, oh,
yeah,
this.
yeah. And yeah, it's not good, right? If you're getting past, say, 3 ingredients, then probably not good to eat. Yeah, so, go in the grocery store, to stay on the outer perimeters of the store is where the real food is. Well, so
And I think
meats and
they're
yeah.
trying to switch that up a little
Yeah,
bit. I've
I did
noticed.
you're right, good point. There are a couple of stores I've been in, they were changing things around. I'm like, "What is going on there?"
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But, overall, whether it's I don't know what's in your neck of the woods, but, an Albertsons or a
Yeah.
Vons or any of that, the Whole Foods. I still see the outer perimeter is where I wanna get my butter, my cream, right?
Hmm.
Meat in the back, so that's all on the outside, and produce. That's pretty much it. Now, condiments, yes, spices are great to have, so you wanna have that, but yes, you have to go in the middle of the store usually for that. But these box items, processed items, we don't need.
Hmm.
And I just also think about what did your parents do and your grandparents do? Or were they slim? Were they slim? If they were slim pretty much most of their lives, what were they doing? So I studied that too, and try to find out what people did as a lifestyle in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And of course, we were introduced all this junk food for breakfast, cereals, basically in the 60s and 70s. And because I remember eating Fruit of Loops and all that color stuff.
Yeah. But my mother never let us eat that.
That's good. Good. We
We
were
never.
eating it in front of our cartoons and out the box.
We had to have corn, what was the corn flakes, and
Yeah. Cool.
add the sugar to it. We
Yeah.
couldn't even have frosted flakes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my
Yeah.
mom was like this.
Yeah.
She went through a whole health thing, and then she was a
I
vegan and
love it.
vegetarian and all of the
Wow.
things. And then one day she was like, I'm done. And it was everything. Do whatever you want.
Well, she set the foundation.
She
So,
did. I was gonna say
yeah.
she set the foundation. I learned a lot, even with the sweets. To this day,
Mhm.
I've still never had a Fruit Loop. I've
Wow, that's
never.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and my father didn't like he wasn't a sweet eater, he didn't have a sweet tooth, so there was
Mm,
never dessert. We
right, right.
didn't do dessert, so even still, I don't have a sweet tooth, so that's
That's
not my issue, I
wonderful.
just love
My
food.
goodness, that is wonderful.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I
love
wish I could
food,
say the
though.
same. I love sweets, but still, I make desserts. Fruit to me is like my
Mm.
bonus, and I'll say, okay, fruit, and with Greek yogurt, you're getting protein. So everything I eat, I add a protein to it because that's what in menopause. I mean, we need more and more protein today than we ever did. So if you can get that in every meal, that's you are already ahead of the game because then now you're feeding your muscle mass and to grow muscle. So in at the same time you're fat. So if you just change the diet alone to eat more protein without doing any extra exercise, you might see a difference there. Just
Ah,
right with that diet change. Because
okay.
really that's about 80% of of what our body requires, and 20% is really your workouts, right? Because we're not working out all day.
Yeah, yeah.
We should be moving all day. But if you can get up every hour and just do something for 5 minutes, dance or play a song and dance, man, you're going to see a difference with your body composition.
With your experience in fasting, what have been some of the health benefits
Mm.
specifically for you, if you don't mind sharing that?
No, yeah, sure. Health benefits. I would say one, it helped me with digestion, uh, and making things go smooth, having proper bowel movements, because that's always been a battle for me. It still is at times, but uh, you have to go back to what am I eating and am I eating higher carbs? I find that that's an issue. But with the fasting of taking that break from the digestion, I'm doing a cleanse, if you will, right? So to me, it's getting more energy. And once I return back to normal from an extended fast, I find that I'm actually stronger when I do a strength building or dumbbell type of workouts, that I'm stronger than what I was a few days before the fast. And then also skin helps me with my hair growth. And you have to think about it that way. It's feeding good things in your hormones so that the hormones can start to work properly. And I know it's still an ongoing battle with figuring out the whole postmenopausal thing, whether you're on HRT or not. So these are other factors that come into play. But I'm doing less extended fasting than I ever have in my fasting life, but I fast every day. It's just about doing gentle fasting in a smarter way for what's required now. So it's really anywhere from 18:6. It could be a day or two in a week to down to like 14:10 if I really look at each day. Uh, Again, it's going by how you feel and where your body wants to land that day because we're still a hormonal creature and you got to feed the hormones instead of starving them. So we're our factors, to me, that's the benefit of fasting because I know you can adjust it any way you need to day by day, but it's all about cleaning the pipes in my mind. I would use that phrase, but it's cleaning the pipes, but it's cleaning your cells. It's repairing your cells that are setting up the havoc that's in your body anyway. It's also helped me with emotionally. I have chronic anxiety and it's really helped simmer that down when I do a longer fast. And actually, it's a spiritual thing too, because it really helps you become those that do believe in God, is that you are closer to God and you can hear him better
Mhm.
when you are getting rid of distractions, which is constant digesting of food.
Yeah.
Because even in the Bible, he says, when you fast and pray, he doesn't say if you fast, it's when. So it's expectation that we do that periodically. And that's why you see all religions do some form of fasting. So there's a benefit to physical as well as spiritual and
Yeah.
emotional.
It's crazy because I used to do that when I was younger with my mom. She'd be like, "Hey, Sherry, do you wanna fast and pray with me?" She'd tell me what day, and I'm like, "Let's
Yeah,
do it."
I love
Now
it.
I'm like, "I can't fast. Oh my goodness, I'm too hungry."
That's advertising feeding us all that
Yeah.
nonsense that
Yeah.
we're supposed to eat all day. That's ask yourself this is, am I going to feed and pay companies that don't care about my health? Or am I just going to go ahead and take care of myself and not listen to that kind of noise? Because they're not there for your best interests.
Mhm.
Coca-Cola and Pepsi are not there for your best interests, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
They just need you to keep buying. That's
Yeah.
why they're billion-dollar industries.
Mhm.
Trillion.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Reggie, if people wanted to check out your videos, tell us about what you got going on
Yeah.
YouTube. You're
Yeah.
always I see you. I see you on Instagram. I see you on YouTube. Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing about I do want to mention about distractions and noise. I've stepped back from posting as much. I mean, I do a weekly video long format usually, but there might be a week that I do take the break and maybe there might just be a short video on there, like
Mhm.
1 minute video. But I have to take those breaks because you will burn yourself out when it comes to social media.
Yeah.
And
It's
and so
intense.
yes, and Instagram has became a love-hate thing for me, but what I do is because I wanna stay in touch with the community, and if they wanna DM me, I always check. So every day I check, but I only give myself a 15-minute timer to be on Instagram because I know I will scroll all, and look up, it's an hour later. I'm like, "No, I can't do that." And YouTube is where I live because it's about educational
Mhm.
understanding that I'm searching for. But you can find me on my channels. It's under my name, Reggie Sweat, and also I have my little, I guess my call tag is Reg Edited, and my website is regedited.com. Where else can you find me? But I would say if on Instagram, again, if you leave me a message there, I will get back to you. And I do have you can reach me through the website, and if you have a question there, I'm available if you want to put together a plan, a fasting plan with your diet plan. I work on all that, help you with a meal plan, and you can find all that information again at regedited.com. But definitely come check me out on YouTube because YouTube is where the community of these lovely ladies like you and how we met.
Uh-huh.
And YouTube is really the place where I find that there's a lot of good bantering going back and forth in the comments and good information that we're sharing with each other because I'm learning too. It's not just me, in a one-way train. It's really I want to know what others are doing because things that are working for me is not necessarily going to work for everybody else. And hearing these things, I do try to bring that in the fold of any of my ebooks or digital products.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. If you have anything that you want to share,
Mhm.
we'll
Yeah,
put that in the show notes for people to download.
yeah. I have the fasting lifestyle ebook, which is for mature women, like Mature Allure, and I
Uh-huh.
love that name. And that's so funny that when you reached out to me, and I was like, oh wow, that's what my ebook, Mature Women is
Uh-huh.
part of the title,
Yeah.
and I think that's what it's about because it's not necessarily just those that are over 50, but they could be someone over 40 that is going through the same things and changes. So I try to implement that because I just don't see enough information out there about taking care of menopausal women, but also how can we fast and how can we eat the right way and how we can do our fitness programs for ourselves that work for us instead of burning ourselves out. We're not working out like we're a 30-year-old anymore. We're not doing all that pounding and that hardcore cardio.
Yeah.
That is not the way that's going to help you with the composition of your body.
No, and a lot of those classes, they're not prepared for us either. 'Cause the last last boot camp thing I did, they were, like, trying to help me out. I'm like, "Okay, I used to could jump rope. What is happening?"
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But they're really not prepared for us. They give us, like, low impact, but at the same time, why yeah,
Well, you
yeah.
have younger instructors, and I
Exactly.
saw there was a channel, but I see the women come in and they're doing the stepping classes.
Huh?
I mean, they're killing it, but I can
Yeah.
tell that a lot of half the class is middle age,
Mhm.
and I don't see them really gaining whatever goal they're trying to do to lose the extra fat because it's just pure cardio.
Yeah.
And the cardio, I mean, it works for a short term. It's not going to work for longevity when it comes down to composition of the body and trying to tone it, because your inches will come in if you focus on toning. And yeah, so
Well, thank you, Reggie.
thank you. It's such a
It's been
pleasure
great
talking
having
with
you.
you as well, Sherry. And I look forward to seeing all the more things you got coming in 2026.
Thank you. And the same goes to you. You'll
Thank
be
you.
back.
I'd love to anytime.
Midlife your way, that's mature.